So this is week 1, 2, 3 of investigating truth through the eyes of shamanic journeying. And in week 1 and 2, we covered the fire element and the earth element. We're looking at truth this month, and so we're looking at truth as a kind of investigation and an exploration of truth through the lenses of the medicine wheel, which is a shamanic map which has been used for centuries in groups and communities to share wisdom and insight through the 4 elements. The 5th element being ourself, the spirit in the center of the wheel of the medicine wheel. The spirit itself is essentially dancing around the elements of the medicine wheel. So the energies of fire representing the initial spark of identity and creation coming into the arena. And I'll hold my drum up as I'm doing this because it helps to describe this journey. So the fire element is our initial birth into the arena of earth, into this great dance of the elements, into the arena on which we play our parts and we live our life. The fire, the initial fire of us, which is also our spirit, it's definitely our spirit coming to land through the atmosphere as it reaches the earth, where it hits us in our physical body and we come in. Perhaps we think of ourselves as being born at our first breath. Perhaps we think of ourselves as being born whilst we're still in the womb. Either way, the spirit hits us here right in the center when we come into the medicine wheel. And the fire element of us, that aspect, is also what I like to term the magical child self. So when we're children, we believe that everything can be limitless and anything we want to achieve can just happen because we want it. We want something when we're children and we believe it's completely feasible and everything around us is going to come together to create exactly what we want and need. And that comes from magical beliefs as well as we're children. We believe in magic when we're children. We see it, we hear it in fairy tales. Fairy tales, of course, being themselves shamanic stories which have evolved through storytelling. And a lot of shamanic practice itself is storytelling. We tell ourselves stories so that we can get into a shamanic journey, and we work with our own imagination and our own storytelling to find new ways to express and experience truths of life. Oh, Maya, you alright? I'm a bit of a cough. There she is. So the fire comes through into the earth, and that's a wonderful part about that fiery spirit. It's a part of us that burns and burns bright and works with us. So as it comes across the medicine wheel, it journeys towards the earth. Now the earth is where everything becomes solid. So everything takes shape and form when it moves into the earth section. So this burning ball of fire, of spirit and energy comes through, and obviously as it gets closer to the earth it cools down, it solidifies, it slows down, it becomes structured, not permanent necessarily, because permanent is a word that we use to restrict ourselves. Everything is in a continuous flux. Even when it gets solid and hard and rigid, it has some kind of flux and movement about it. She's gone now. So that's the fire moving into the earth. And when we think about the earth as an element, we're thinking about the earth beneath our feet. We're thinking about our material possessions as well as our physical self. So it's physical health. Here in the fireside, we consider our spiritual health, or whatever we consider spiritual health to be, because that's going to be something different for everybody, as is your physical health. So the earth element, which we looked at last week, was considering the physical health or the physical manifestation of things. When things become real and solid, that's the earth realm as well, because things have become solid and real. The dreams that we've had as children, or the dreams that the child part of us has, because we still have the magical child within us, just like the rings on a tree, every age that we've ever lived still exists within us, as does all of the accumulation of experiences that we've had through those ages. And whatever it is we want to bring into reality, actually we have to work with the earth to make it solid, to make it appear, to make it structured, and to bring it around into life. So I often look at the earth side of the medicine wheel as a part of the adult aspect of us, because it brings in process, and it brings in structure, and we learn structure and process as we grow up through this journey from fire and spirit into the cool hardening of the earth aspect. Then we move into the water, which is what we're going to experience and explore a little bit of this week. Is the water element of the medicine wheel is everything that flows, everything that is also mysterious, because water holds a great mystery to us. And one of the reasons that I like to think that is because we don't live in water. We live in land and we live in air. If we lived in water, we would perhaps consider the air and the land to be a great mystery. We can exist only for so long when we're in water before we have to come up for air, whereas there are living creatures and organisms and expressions of spirit that live in water that wouldn't be able to live on land in the air like us, and therefore the depths of the water, it's a deep place, water. It's a place of emotion. And the reason why it's a place of emotion is because deep inside the unknown lies a movement and a flow which we very often cannot give a name to. The naming of things is an aspect of air, an aspect of mental awareness, an aspect of thought and reflection. Whereas purely when that urge is in the emotional arena, it doesn't have a name or a label, it just flows. And therefore we don't yet understand or grasp it as a concept until we give it some thought. So as we are, again, I'll go back to, this is another child area because it's an unconscious, unknown area. So we haven't learned it. Just like fire is something we haven't learnt because it burns so bright, it just comes in. And water also is something that we haven't learnt yet. And as we haven't learnt it, we don't understand it as it's in its rawness. Therefore, we feel it. And when we get that feeling, it often brings us into the arena of suffering, which then brings us tears or wounds or misunderstandings or incompletion. We feel incomplete because we like to know why everything's happening. Whereas emotions and water, they don't immediately give us that it doesn't rise up with a label or a tag. It just is a movement and an energetic movement. And very often we don't like to just be with that energy of the movement and of the flow because we don't know what's going to be at the end of it. Where the advice for that is that everything being impermanent, that flow and that movement of that motion, that energy motion, emotion, will also process itself naturally, whatever it is. So the feeling that we give things, so If we've got a tight pain in our tummy and we're feeling tearful, we're going to perhaps call that sadness or grief. And once we've given it a name, it's almost as if it's always going to be that way. If we forget the naming of emotions, we allow them to flow and process, and we are present and in the very real moment of those emotions. And so as we're considering truth of things tonight, I think the actual deconstruction of the naming of emotions is quite important. So perhaps where we've felt a feeling, confusion, or we've felt unhappiness, or we felt great excitement and elation, if we allow the collection of feelings to be as they are without having to give them a compound or a structure in terms of a name for them, we can really experience and express the truth of what's happening. So the truth of water and water of truth. So we're going to look at water and emotion and feelings in order to investigate truth. Now, there's no final destination to shamanic journeys. There is constant reflection and change and flux to the experience of a shamanic journey. And when you return from a shamanic journey, the medicine is in your actual reflection, and the medicine is in your curiosity of the journey. So what would have happened in a shamanic community would be a group of elders or a council would get together. They would have a mystery or a question for the community that they serve. They would all get together and go on a shamanic journey to come back with advice and guidance from non-ordinary reality, which is the shamanic realm of shamanic consciousness. And that's accessible by everybody. We access it when we dream, when we daydream. We can access this realm quite easily. It's within our human nature to access non-ordinary reality. It's storytelling. Sometimes non-ordinary reality goes out of hand when we're traveling with the air aspect, when we're creating stories that don't exist, and that often happens when we're panicking about the future. But in non-ordinary reality, we work from the premise that we're going on an adventure with a theme, and we let the theme unfold and open as we go on the journey. So starting shamanic journeying for yourself is something that's done by storytelling initially. As the drum plays, you would take yourself in your imagination to a tree that you know exists, a tree that you're very familiar with. And that tree represents the initial shamanic map, which is the tree of life, in which we have the branches of the tree representing the higher wisdom. So these are inspirations, intuitions, and what you conceive to be the highest part of humankind and the highest part of spirit that you can communicate with. The center of the tree is the here and now. It's the ordinary realm. It's where you are having mundane activities. You're connecting with other humans and animals, connecting with nature, also connecting with a concept of separativity, what the things that are separate to us. It's a very reflective space, the middle realm as well. So it's a place where you understand that your human body does in fact have an aspect of reflection and separateness from the rest of everything, and it's a reflective space. The roots of the tree of life take you to the world of everything that has passed. So it's your inherited understanding of the world, which you've inherited perhaps from parents, grandparents, even as far back as your ancestors that you haven't met, the ancestral knowledge that lies within your blood, the ancestral knowledge that lies within your bones. It's your physical makeup, the learned creation of you which was learnt from generations before you, your forefathers and the mothers who've come before you, all the way back until the primal elements, really. The elements themselves are a part of your ancestry. So if you go the furthest back you can go are to the ancestry of the elements. So indeed a part of you is fire, earth, water and air, with the animating principle of spirit mixing everything up so much that you generate a body. So that part of the lower realm is about things that have passed before. The earth also contains, where the roots go into the earth, the blueprints and the templates for all life. So all life, the elements for it are contained within the earth. So we've got quite a diverse arena in which to journey when we go into our shamanic journeys, because we've got the medicine wheel and we're being specific with this journey in that we're inviting in the water and all of the aspects and elements of water. We're going with the kernel, the seed of truth, to allow truth to open up within the water. And whilst we're in the water, we're inviting ourselves to view this process from the highest realm, the middle realm, and the lower realm. Now, how that happens is entirely up to you. When you begin to journey, I always would say learn your maps, experience your maps first, so that you've got an experience of the lower world, you've got an experience of the middle realm and of the upper realm. And then the second part would be to journey with the medicine wheel itself, so that you've got an experience of your landscape of each of the elements. And then after you've done that and you've had an experience of them, come into a journey circle where we'll actually let you free, let you run around all of the terrains and run through all of the levels of that amazing journey. And that's a shamanic journey. And as you've had an explanation of those realms, you'll already be forming in your consciousness these maps. And it gets to the point where almost you've heard enough, you need to go into an experience. So the first experience that we'll go into tonight is going to be an experience with water. And to do that, I'd just like you to connect to water in your imagination when the journey begins. It's almost like a meditation on water, the first part. After we've done a meditation on water and you've connected to the qualities and the essence of water, and also allowing what you've already absorbed from my discourse here to sink into the subconscious, to allow your subconscious to respond to everything that you've just heard about water. Then we'll go into a shamanic journey where you're going to take truth as a seed to water and allow that to unfurl for you in your unique experience of life.
Great.
So the first meditation and reflection on water I'll do with some music. So I'll just share my screen, and I've got a lovely track for water. If I can find it. Here. Should be in my downloads. There it is. So do you have any questions or anything at the moment, Robert?
No, not really. No, I'm just yeah, just trying to absorb.
That's why we have a break and a reflection meditation, so that everything that you've held on to and listened through will now just settle and allow itself to unfurl and unwrap.
I did have one point, but I don't know if you want me to save it till later. I don't want to just sort
Go
of.
ahead and ask, yeah.
But it was just you were yeah. I just came to my mind when you were talking about the idea of living in water and that we don't live in water. It came to me that I just wondered whether it was appropriate to say that we sort of do because we're made up of so much water. We they talk about us being 90% water as human beings. And so that idea that in some weird way we sort of do live in water, which sort of came to me out of the blue, and I thought that's something I've never considered before. You always go with that
Mm.
automatic assumption of living in water, being underwater, you can't breathe, but yet we exist in water in our bodies.
Well, that's amazing. That's a wonderful reflection and a
Thank-
response from your subconscious.
Yeah,
Already working with that
yeah.
work. So part of your journey, you would actually delve into that. So you're already awakening the water part of you, and you're becoming very aware of that. And you've delivered a truth of water.
Thank you.
There,
The only
that's
thing that came
lovely.
to my mind was also just sorry, I'm quite a talkative person, so tell me
Yeah.
if you need to shut up. But was you were talking about that idea of the shamanic journey never being complete, that it's all about the experience, and it immediately reminded me of the Fool's Journey in tarot, that
Yeah.
it's never, even when you get to the last card in the major arcana, the world, and that is the idea of completion and fulfillment, it's really just to start the journey all over again and go back to innocence and go back to that sort of free-spirited fool. And I'm just really interested in that synchronicity because I've been delving into tarot recently. So it's all, my mind's buzzing with the synchronicity
Yeah.
in what you're talking about and what I've.
Yeah. So work with your cups as well, then, what you feel about the cups.
Yeah, I identify with the Knight of Cups quite strongly because I'm also
Okay.
Pisces. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sort of very water sort of compatible, I think.
Well, after we do a reflection on water, a meditation on water, really, just allow all of this knowledge and this enthusiasm, inspiration that you're feeling at the moment to just absorb it, absorb this watery inspiration. And there are no questions, there's just a reflection of the experience of you connecting to water.
Right.
So, however you usually meditate or take yourself into a quiet space, I'm going to allow you to just be with that for 5 minutes with this lovely track featuring a conch shell. Just when you're ready, come back to this ordinary reality and maybe make a few notes on your journey. Make a few notes quite soon after the journey to remember all of that, and then we'll share. So I had a lovely dive in, and for the first time when I went into water, I got the message that I have to let go of all concept of limitation, because the water is vast and infinite, and so when I'm in water, I feel just infinitely expanded. And the deeper I went down into water, the more was washed away and eroded and gone and left, so that just in the end I was no thing, but I was everything. That was my experience of connecting with water today.
That's really interesting. Yeah. It's yeah, I I felt some of that for sure. I immediately felt the tides, the pull and the push and the in-breath and the out-breath, and I find myself feeling very connected to the moon these days, and another Piscean link, and the control of the moon over the tides, and I find all that so fascinating. And then I became really aware of my blood and the hot water, the heat of almost, I suppose, where the alchemy of fire and water meeting to a certain degree. And then I started to think about that sense of both. There's a lot of dualities for me, a lot of like floating on water and then either diving or drowning into water. A lot of like water is both soothing, it's something we bathe and clean with, but it's also something destructive, and it's something that's powerful and can generate power.
Yeah, it erodes things, it wears things down. There's a big attrition to water. I often say it's unstoppable, so your emotions are unstoppable no matter how much you try to repress a feeling. They're actually unstoppable. They come out some way, somehow.
I think that's why there's so much focus these days on emotional health, because we don't live in a culture that puts any stock on learning about your emotions or feeling them like these more ancient traditions do. They get you to experience them and live with them and be with them, which we don't do so much. The music actually took me to quite a dry place after a while. Like it gave me that sort of arid feeling, that sense of, it didn't feel very moist. So a lot of people don't like that word. But it felt quite dry, and I started to sort of go to that sort of very arid place, and what it feels like to be without water, what it feels like to be very thirsty, what the land looks like without water and the absence of water, and how impactful that is. And just that idea of that, the deepness of it and the deepness of emotion, and that we often find emotions scary in that same way, not because they are inherently scary. Deep water isn't inherently scary, but it's that idea of we don't really know what's down there and how intense it's going to be, how much pressure there's going to be, what's going to be lurking there, what other things are those emotions hiding or holding back. So that was all the things that went through my mind.
And it's also like darkness as well, when your senses erode and dissolve, or when your senses no longer don't function as you're used to them functioning, there's a sense of fear. There is a fear that comes for me. I feel a fear when I think about my senses not being functioning as they normally would. And when you do go into the deep, dark depths, of course, your lungs and your breathing, actually, the physical lungs can't work so far down there. You can't see with your physical everyday eyes. You have to rely on your intuition and your inner senses and the innocence of yourself.
Definitely. What you were saying there reminds me a little bit of sleep paralysis. I don't know if you've ever had that, where
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
waking up but not really waking up, where your mind's awake but your body isn't.
yeah,
And that
yeah.
idea of sort of, that you're in your consciousness to a point and you're still really in your subconsciousness to a point as well, but your physicality hasn't, your earthiness hasn't established itself. And
Exactly.
that sort of fear of well, I'm not grounded. I can't exist without my body, without my full senses.
Mm,
And that's
mm,
quite scary.
yeah. I remember I did do a journey with water once, and it was a polar bear on an ice cube. And the polar bear was so frightened about the ice cube melting because the polar bear was feeling like, I don't know how to swim. And it was standing on the tiniest ice cube, which was just melting. And I came out of that journey just completely in tears about this. The feeling was, I don't know how to swim when this ice melts. But the inevitability was that this ice is going to melt. And, the answer that I came out of it was just swim.
Mm.
Just
But also,
swim.
it points to the impermanence of ice, doesn't it? Of temperature, of the that things need to change, things need
Mm.
to mutate from gas into water into ice, and that whole idea is really
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah,
and
as humans,
clinging on to one um one um type of water, so one
yeah,
clinging on to ice, but
yeah,
knowing that it's gonna go.
clinging on to the solid version of emotion, isn't it?
Yeah,
Thinking about the solidity
the
of
form
emotion.
of it,
Yeah, and you
and
want
not accepting or admiring the beauty of wet water or fluid water. You know what I mean?
But it's also the scary depths, isn't it? The ice floats,
Mm,
the ice keeps you above those depths, but you've got to go into those depths to learn how to navigate them.
yeah. Mm,
You can't
yeah.
navigate the depths of water by standing on the ice and looking down. You've got to be in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, really interesting.
Appreciating the state of water as it's in flow.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a journey with the truth now. We're going to take almost like a seed, as if it's a flower, but you don't quite know how this flower is going to grow. And in non-ordinary reality, you take yourself to a place where there's a tree that you know so well. You imagine the feeling of the ground underneath your feet. You imagine the air against your skin. You imagine the water that's around in the natural form of the water through the plants and the trees that are around you. And tell yourself the story. Really just invite yourself into this world of this journey of the tree, almost as if you're even a character carrying with you a seed. And it's very much an active imagination exercise. So you take yourself right into it, feel your whole body senses being there, and then sit with the seed and journey to water with it and invite the truth to unfold, the truth of water.
Okay.
And so altogether this we'll have had 4 journeys on truth, and so we'll have a complete medicine wheel altogether of truth for each of us as we've completed this cycle of truth. And as we do that, I'll play the drum, which will be a steady drum beat. When the journey is finished, at the end of 10 minutes, you'll hear a callback rhythm. And a callback rhythm is a quick drum beat twice. And And that'll last for about 30 seconds. So you'll know when you hear the first call back that you got 30 seconds to complete your journey and return to the tree. Okay? Are we ready for this? Sometimes it helps to, you can turn your camera off as well if you want to. For this, it's entirely up to you, and you can even wear a blindfold or something to completely black out, like if you're comfortable with that, because that helps you really go inside into your inner senses with this one. Begin the journey towards the tree. Visualize the tree in the distance, the ground beneath your feet, and the distance between you and the tree. And allow yourself to find a way to move towards the tree, carrying with you your seed, ready for it to grow and unfurl. Immerse yourself completely in this story and allow the journey to unfurl, both telling yourself the story and allowing the story to develop organically. The truth of water. Come back to the tree. Return, return, return to me. And now's your time.